All right, welcome back to the deep dive. It is officially February 2026.
Here we are.
If you're listening to this, congratulations. You made it through the holidays, the endless forecast meetings, dry January.
That probably wasn't so dry.
Probably not. And now you are staring down the barrel of the rest of the year in industrial real estate. And the vibe is, well, from everything we've been reading, it's energetic, but complicated.
Complicated is the polite word. I might go with schizophrenic. If
Yeah.
you're looking for a simple narrative for 2026, you're definitely not going to find it in these reports.
No, we are so not in 2021 anymore. That whole era feels like a fever dream now, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
The days where you could just, slap a for lease sign on some dusty old box with a leaky roof and watch 5 companies get into a fist fight over it.
Long gone. That is firmly in the rearview mirror. The easy money has left the building.
It really has.
We've gone through a huge stack for this Q4 2025 reports from Lee & Associates, Newark, Voigt. We've got some heavy technical guides from the Department of Energy and even some strategy insights from Voxel Micro Video Labs.
And the headline seems to be the same across all of them. The market has bifurcated. It's a split screen.
It's a complete split screen.
And that is exactly what we are going to unpack today. Because on one side of that screen, you've got people just scratching their heads, staring at vacancy lists. And on the other side,
you have a group that's absolutely crushing it.
And the difference really seems to be this thing the data is calling the industrial specialization mandate.
That is the key phrase for 2026. The specialization mandate, it basically just says generic is dead.
Dead.
The market is sprinting away from just 4 walls and a roof and moving towards specialized industrial, advanced manufacturing, last mile logistics.
And here's the so what for everyone listening, right? If the buildings are changing, the people selling them have to change too. You can't just be a transaction agent anymore. You have to evolve into what they're calling a strategic advisor.
Precisely. And you have to communicate like one.
Yeah.
That's the crisis right now. We see so many pros who have the knowledge, but they're communicating it all wrong. They're chasing this like Joe Rogan model.
Oh, I can't wait to get into the Joe Rogan fallacy. I think that's going to hurt some feelings, but it needs to be said.
It does. They should be building sales collateral instead.
Okay, but before we get to the marketing, let's just, understand the product. Let's start with the macro picture. Set the scene for us.
Well, if you just glance at the top line numbers, you might think everything is just fine. GDP growth is projected at a pretty steady 2.7%. Not explosive, but healthy.
Right.
And if you look at the ports, specifically LA and Long Beach, it's a boomtown.
Yeah, I saw that stat in the Lee & Associates report. The Port of Long Beach just came off its busiest year in history.
And not just recent history. We're talking 115 years of history. They moved 9.9 million TEUs, that's the 20-foot equivalent units, in 2025.
9.9 million. I mean, that is a staggering amount of stuff.
It's a river of cargo.
So let me play devil's advocate here for a second. If the ports are breaking records and the economy's growing, industrial real estate should be a slam dunk, right?
You would think so.
Every warehouse within striking distance of the 710 freeway should be full.
And that is the contradiction. Despite all that port activity, generic industrial vacancy is ticking up.
Right.
We're seeing vacancy in the Inland Empire hit 8.82%.
Right.
Orange County, which is usually tight as a drum, is up to 5.63%.
Which, to be fair, is still a healthy market historically, but the arrow is pointing the wrong way.
Exactly. It's rising while imports are rising, and that implies this huge disconnect between what's coming in and where it's going. The demand has just fundamentally shifted.
So tenants don't just need storage anymore.
They need function. The days of just stacking pallets to the ceiling are over, at least for the growth sectors. The capital isn't flowing into storing cheap stuff in a dark warehouse. It's flowing into 3 very specific areas.
And those are
advanced manufacturing, last touch logistics, and cold storage.
Okay, let's peel those back. Advanced manufacturing. We've been hearing about nearshoring for years now. Is 2026 the year it finally lands?
It's landing right now. We're seeing massive capital investment in semiconductors, aerospace, and especially electric vehicles. And these tenants, they're not looking for a metal shed.
No, they need heavy power, right? Reinforced floors.
Heavy power, specific clear heights for robotics, all of it. So if you're a landlord with a 1980s tilt-up with 400 amps of power and 18-foot ceilings,
you're invisible to that whole sector.
You're obsolete. That's the bifurcation. You've got Class A specialized, which is full, and Class B generic, which is just sitting there.
Okay, then there's last touch logistics. How is that different from the huge Amazon fulfillment centers we saw 5 years ago?
It's the evolution of speed. That giant fulfillment center out in the desert, the big box, that market is saturated.
Right.
The battleground now is the last touch. These are usually smaller, urban infill warehouses, under 100,000 square feet, often much smaller.
So getting it deep into the city?
Exactly. The goal isn't storage, it's throughput. It's getting that package from the warehouse to your door in 2 hours, not 2 days.
So location becomes even more critical than size.
Location is everything.
This brings up a really interesting point about the geography of the industry. It seems like so much activity is focusing on San Pedro right now.
San Pedro is fascinating. It's effectively becoming the creative engine of the port.
An ecosystem.
It is. You have this hub where the logistics execs, the drayage operators, the industrial brokers, they're all physically colliding. And it's no accident that one of our other sources, Voxel Micro Video Labs, they set up shop right there.
Right in the heart of it.
Because that's where the logistics leader's playbook is being written.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to close global freight contracts, being in that hub, it matters.
It's about being where the deals are being discussed. You want to be where the freight forwarders are having lunch.
Yes. But let's go back to that strategic advisor idea, because just hanging out in San Pedro isn't enough. You have to understand what you're selling. And frankly, looking at these DOE reports in our stack, the what has gotten really complicated.
This is the part that I think scares a lot of traditional brokers. The technical barrier to entry has skyrocketed.
It has.
You can't just be a tour guide who unlocks the door and points at the loading dock anymore.
Not if you want to close these specialized tenants. Let's take the EV infrastructure source from the Department of Energy. It's a perfect example of this knowledge gap.
Okay, lay it out for us. Say I have a tenant looking for a facility for their electric delivery fleet.
Right. A generic broker asks, do you need charging? A strategic advisor asks, do you need level 2 or DC fast charging? And they know the difference.
I want to pause here because I bet a lot of listeners nod along but don't actually know the hardware specs. What's the real difference?
Okay, so a level 2 charger, think of it like a heavy-duty dryer outlet in your house. It runs on 208 to 240 volts, takes maybe 4 to 8 hours to charge a vehicle.
Which is fine if the vans are parked overnight.
Correct. If the fleet sleeps there, level 2 is fine. But logistics is about uptime. If you need to turn a van around in 45 minutes, you need DC fast chargers. Level 3.
And that's a whole different beast.
That's a different species entirely. We're talking 480 volts. These things draw anywhere from 20 kilowatts up to 400 kilowatts.
400 kilowatts. To put that in perspective for the non-electrician.
A standard small warehouse might only have a 400 amp service panel for the entire building.
Wow.
1 or 2 of these fast chargers could blow the whole facility's capacity.
So if I'm a broker and I show a building with a standard panel and say, yeah, you can probably put chargers in here, I might be lying.
You are likely wasting 6 months of their time. Because installing DC fast chargers isn't just plugging them in. It often requires a new transformer from the utility.
Which can take how long?
In California, 12 to 18 months just for the permitting and install.
Wow. So a strategic advisor knows to check the building's electrical capacity, the transformer, before they even schedule the tour.
That's the aha moment right there.
Yeah.
It is the difference between pointing at walls and explaining how the building powers their business.
And in a market where tenants are discerning and rates are around 6%, that expertise is the only real leverage you have.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've established you need this deep technical knowledge. You need to know your volts from your amps. But now we hit the second part of this crisis, the communications crisis.
Right.
Because I see a lot of brokers who know this stuff. They're smart, but they're struggling to get that expertise in front of the right people.
Or worse, they're trying to be influencers.
Right. They see the landscape and think, I need to be famous.
And this is what Edwin Duterte from Voxel calls the Joe Rogan fallacy.
I love this concept, the Joe Rogan fallacy. Please break this down. I think every person with a LinkedIn account needs to hear it.
Okay, it's this mistaken belief that the goal of marketing is to get famous. Agents see podcasters with millions of subscribers and think, I need that. But the source makes a brutal point. You're not a celebrity. You're a business owner.
Ouch, but fair.
I mean, for a B2B consultant or an industrial agent, 1 million subscribers is a vanity metric.
Yeah.
It's useless. You don't need 1 million fans. You need 10 high-paying clients. It's a business model.
So if we're not chasing subscribers, what are we doing?
We are shifting from content to collateral.
Okay, define the difference. People use those words interchangeably all the time.
They shouldn't. Content is entertainment. It's the radio model. You broadcast to everyone and hope a sponsor pays you. Collateral is an asset designed to close a deal. It's the funnel model.
So instead of making a generic, just listed video with cool drone shots and techno music, which everyone ignores.
Everyone ignores it. Instead, you should be recording deep dives that answer specific client fears. Think about the objections you hear every single day.
Like, why should I buy now when rates are at 6%?
Exactly. Or, how does the ULA tax impact this sale price? That's a huge one in LA. So you sit down, you record a 10-minute video explaining exactly how to underwrite a deal with the ULA tax. You don't post that to TikTok hoping it goes viral. You send it directly to a warm lead on LinkedIn or in your CRM.
That is such a smarter use of time. You're shortening the sales cycle. You're answering their question before they even ask it on the call.
And you establish yourself as that strategic advisor we talked about. You're not entertaining them. You are solving their problem.
Okay, but here's the rub, and I think this is where it gets real for a lot of professionals. If video is this powerful, this sales collateral, why isn't every broker in Los Angeles doing it?
2 words. Tech anxiety.
Tech anxiety. Yeah, I feel that.
Most real estate pros are experts at closing deals. They're not experts at color grading 4K footage or syncing audio or figuring out why a stream key isn't working. It is a massive friction point.
And the sources really break this down. There are options out there, but they all seem to have what Voxel calls headaches.
Right, let's look at the comparison. First, you have the huge sound stages like Manhattan Beach Studio.
Legendary place.
It is. But for a solo agent, it's a staffing headache. It's a cold, empty box. You have to hire a lighting director, a sound engineer, a camera op. It's too complex.
Okay, so then you have the aesthetic studios. The source mentions West Coast Creative.
Yeah, they market their natural light. And it looks great on Instagram for a photo, sure. But for video, it's a nightmare. The expert note is crucial. If a cloud rolls in, your video gets dark.
Inconsistent. And that kills brand trust.
Yeah.
If your lighting is changing every 10 minutes, you look like an amateur.
Exactly. And then you have the legacy podcast studios like South Bay Podcast. The issue there is the future-proofing headache. They're focused on audio. But we know the algorithms today prioritize video.
Specifically, high-res vertical video.
Yes, if you're recording audio only in 2026, you're fighting with one hand tied behind your back.
Yeah.
So the Voxel solution is interesting because it's built to address these specific pain points. They call it the no-headache standard.
Which is basically plug and play.
It is. The philosophy is the broker has one job: show up and speak. Voxel handles the controlled lighting so it's consistent. They handle the 4K recording. They frame it for vertical.
So the broker can get back to their real job, back to the logistics leader's playbook, marketing that complex infrastructure.
Precisely. It removes the barrier to entry. You don't have to be a tech wizard. You just have to be the expert in your field.
It really does tie everything together. The market shifted to specialization. Tenants demand technical expertise. The only way to scale that expertise is through video collateral, but only if the video production doesn't distract you from your actual job.
That's the synthesis right there. The agents who stick to the old ways, generic listings, generic marketing, they're going to struggle. The ones who lean into the strategic advisor role and build a library of answers, they're going to win.
And speaking of winning, we should probably mention that call to action. If you're in real estate, logistics, industrial brokerage, and you're listening to this thinking, I have that knowledge, I know about the transformers, then you need the medium to share it.
Stop chasing subscribers. Chase the deal. Stop worrying about the tech noise, the blurry cameras, the loose cables.
Just head down to San Pedro, visit Voxel Micro Video Labs. It's right there in the creative engine of the port. Start building your own library of sales collateral. The tools are there. You just have to use them.
And it's a lot easier than you think.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought. The next time you are walking a potential tenant through a warehouse, ask yourself this question.
In a market where tenants hold all the leverage and generic is dying, are you the broker who points at the walls? Or are you the one who explains how the building powers their future?
Something to mull over. That's it for this deep dive. We will catch you on the next one.
See you then.